Hey, good morning. It is Friday. How do you do? Warm this morning, 71 as we wait for a high of only 82. So we're changing only about 10 degrees before it's all said and done by this afternoon. Now, we do have a chance of showers. We should have about a 30% chance of rain moving in, somewhere between 3 to 5 in that late afternoon era. Well, it's going to be cloudy today, so nothing drastic there, but should be pretty good all the way over. We'll get into your forecast and what it brings for the weekend. What are the temperatures going to do? We'll give you all of that. We got a bunch of headlines to go over. What's going on in the country in the last 24 hours? We've got the latest. We'll be telling you about that, filling you in on that. And, of course, as always, birthdays, anniversaries, anything that you might have going, we'd love to hear about that. Good morning, Bob. I see you're up. Brian joins us there from the Bahamas. Oh, not so sure that's happening there. Matt Green all the way from Clarkdale joins us. James, we do need a little rain. A little bit wouldn't hurt there to get everything ready for these patches. Today is kind of the chance that you get if you planted your patches for the next week or so. All the details coming on that. Linda Jane, how in the world are you doing? Hope good. Lita, good to see you as well. Miss Belinda joins us. So many of you. We've got This Day in History. That girl joins us as she'll be flying in for a landing in a little while. Greg will be here. Odie has already taken notes bright and early today. We don't know what he does over there every morning, but he does something. Coffee's getting close. We hadn't fired up the coffee machine yet, but we'll have it in a minute. Join us, won't you? Let's get to something good. Let's get a good word for the day as we go to hear from Brother Ben.
You know, one of our flesh's favorite verses in the Bible comes from Exodus 21:24, which says, eye for eye and tooth for tooth. It goes on to say, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. You see, when somebody hurts us, we long to see them held accountable and hurt back in equal fashion. That's justice. But so many times we don't want to wait for justice. We appoint ourselves as judge, jury, and punisher and want to take matters into our own hands. We say, I'll show them. I'll pay them back. But listen to the wisdom and instruction of Scripture. Proverbs 20:22 says, do not say, I'll repay evil. Wait for the Lord, and He will deliver you. Beloved, God hates wickedness, and one of the wicked things He hates is when people take retribution into their own hands. Yes, you may need to be avenged, but vengeance doesn't belong to you. It belongs to God and to those government officials He established to punish wrongdoers. Therefore, we don't take matters into our own hands. We wait for God. And what do we do when God's vengeance doesn't come at the pace or in the capacity we think it should? We cry out to God. We cry out to God to avenge us, and we cry out to government to make things right, like the persistent widow Jesus described in Luke 18. It's not that we don't have recourse or that we don't advocate for ourselves. It's just that we don't take matters of vengeance into our own hands. Wait on the Lord. He will deliver you. Change begins in you.
The Change Begins in You is brought to you in part by Piggly Wiggly of Collinsville, Patrick Allen Companies, Mitchell Tire and Wrecker in Collinsville, and Mowdy Cabinetry. Big thanks to Brother Ben. Now, they'll have church services Sunday morning beginning at 10:15. Collinsville on the left if you're going toward Philadelphia. On the right if you're coming into Meridian. They'd love to have you as a guest to join them at church. Before we get going, let's just look at radar real quick here. Now, also, I wanted to point this out. I know that there were reports earlier called in that there was a stalled car, Highway 496 near Old Wire Road, windshield busted, and it was said one time it was in the road, one time it was said it was off the roadway there. But if you're in the area of Highway 496, Lauderdale County, Mississippi, near Old Wire Road and 496, use caution there. Emergency officials are in the area. Hopefully that's out of the roadway, but just drive a little bit slower there. Let's look at radar real quick as we begin this before we get into headlines, just to show you where we've got rain. Pretty much good in the northern portion as we look at this, Lauderdale County all the way back to Jackson, good to Vicksburg. We do have a shower or two just south of Waynesboro. As we'll look at this just to the east of there and south of there. Heavier showers as you moved east into Millery, Alabama, those areas. Camden, Alabama, Thomasville, a shower or two. Mobile getting a little bit worse than we are. Slidell getting wet this morning as we get ready for cruising the coast starting Monday, I believe, is when it will officially get underway. There'll be a lot of cars and a lot of people visiting the state of Mississippi. So we got showers in those areas this morning. But easing in on Montgomery, too. Selma, those areas like that. Light showers, nothing serious as we look at what's happening across the state in Alabama there. Let's begin our headlines of what's going on in America. As we all know, that there are people that have trouble having children, and they go to seek help, and they can be medically helped. Well, they'll take an egg and do all of that, as someone did. I know you've heard this by now, up to where the company, what is that? Ancestry.com. That's what I'm trying to get. I couldn't get it out. They did a test, and, well, they're not kin. After they had spent all of the money developing this, and he's supposed to be his daughter, they are both now suing the company that handled this for them. Who knows if they will ever find out who the real father is, and he's going to adopt her to make it all legal. It's sad. It's bad. I don't even know how to answer it. And I'm not sure how I've never done that. Have you done it, Odie? No. Odie doesn't want to. I just don't see the purpose of that, of why I would want to do that. But a lot of you have done that, the Ancestries.com. It's something called 3M also, Me3 or something like that, another company that does that DNA research as well. It's up to you if you want to do that or not. Well, here's one for the books. It's been saved, but I don't know what to tell you what this is going to cost you just yet. The dock workers' strike has come to an end. They have come to an agreement, but neither party has discussed what they agreed upon. So workers are going back to work on the docks on the eastern coast, even down to the Gulf. But we, again, don't know what it's going to cost you, the consumer. It's going up in some shape, form, or way. We just don't know how much. We'll wait and see. I guess it's like the wreck we went to on I-20 the other day, the lady that ran off the road, went under the bridgeway. Had that not been during the daytime and someone saw it, she could have been there for hours before anyone discovered that. So goes the case in California. Uber driver ran off the road, went to a ravine, trapped for 12 hours. They finally did notice that she never came back, and they started searching. An app on her phone led them to where she was. She's going to be okay, but trapped for 12 hours. That's got to be scary. You have a lot of time over a 12-hour period to think about everything going on in your life. Did you live right? Did you do right? That's a haunting time, so to speak. We see that we've got 2 people in California that have been affected by the bird flu. Oh, 2 people. We hope that this doesn't go anymore. They're dairy workers, if I am not mistaken. Yeah, they're dairy workers. How they got it, we don't know. They're investigating this. Lawrence, Mississippi, joining us. Patricia, how are you doing there? Richard is up. So is Miss Sharon. Glad to have you there. Tulsa. Now, I'm just not one of those, what do you call those type people that's the innovator that has to have the very latest when it comes to the new cell phone, the new truck. I'm not that guy, but some of you are. A 5th recall on the latest on the Tulsa pickup truck. You know, the thing that's got the bulletproof windows and probably costs a lot of money. The 5th recall of the year is coming in with that. This time is due to rear view display. That's nothing major. Any car could have that, but it was a recall on that. How close are you to your pet? Nah, I love my dogs, and I'm sure that a lot of you do. As we look at this next story, a dog is man's best friend without the shadow of a doubt, and they can help you. We see that a 13-year-old rescue dog saved an 84-year-old woman that needed help. Led police to her where she needed help. Isn't that good? It's always good to have a good story like that. They miss you. They have feelings too, as Ricky has told me many times. Let's see here. Rust. You know the movie that had Alec Baldwin where the person died from the gunshot wound from the prop gun? Looks like it's going to premiere next month for the first time. That happened roughly 3 years ago, and it looks like the film is finally together. I don't know if that will make money or not. They're bound to be in debt after everything that went over that, but it will be a screening. How they're going to handle that scene where she passed away, I do not know. The Firefighters Union across America is declining to endorse anyone for the presidential race. Not shocking. Before the last election in 2020, they endorsed Biden. This year, they're not endorsing anyone. This is I try to gather thoughts before I go into a subject that rattles my cage, and this is what this is rattling. The shaken syndrome. Do y'all know what I'm talking about? It's when a baby is shook to death by an adult. The baby's crying, they lose their composure and shake a child. We have a Texas man that is October 17th is the day that he's supposed to meet his maker over this. They are trying frantically to save him, to have him pardoned where he won't be executed. He's going down the river for this. This was 2002, 22 years ago that he was sentenced to prison for shaking his daughter to death. How do you feel about that? She's gone. This is not the first, nor will it be the last that a case like this has happened. October 17th is when Texas will finish the job, so to speak. Michael Jordan. I got news for him. This is not the only business that does stuff like this, but he's suing NASCAR. He says that it's more or less, he's trying to say it's a good old boy racket. The way he puts it, it lines the pockets of the founding family. He and another racing company are suing together. We'll see how that turns out. That's how most of all this stuff kind of happens. Do you remember the 3 Memphis police officers? They were accused of hurting a man, killing him. They were sued and arrested. They have been charged. They went to court yesterday. Again, 3 of them here charged. Haley being one, he's convicted on 1 count of conspiracy to witness tamper and 1 count of obstruction to justice. The other 2, Bean and Smith, were found guilty on 1 account of obstruction of justice for witness tampering. Now, this is a far less charge than what it started out with. They will face up to 20 years in prison for this. We'll see how that turns out. Sentencing has not been cast. They have been found guilty of those 2 charges as we look at this. Rabbi Michigan is where we go next. He was hosting a supper. He had some Jewish folks over. Somebody broke in the house and said, "Give me everything you have." Now, I'm not sure if it was because of who he was or if they were just trying to rob, but they interrupted the dinner with a gun and tried to rob them all. They've been arrested. I think they've got a female that was also waiting on the outside of the home to be the getaway driver. What does that tell us? Lock your doors when you have dinner. You don't need any uninvited guests, do we? That was Michigan, but it can happen anywhere there. Look out, your pocketbooks will hurt a little bit more on this one. Also, Biden's finally got approval. That student loan forgiveness plan is going through. A judge has let the restraining order expire, which means if you didn't go to college, you have to put in a couple extra hours for somebody that did to pay their debt. You decided to go to work. Very unfair, and I don't agree with this at all. How do we know? I mean, y'all all know people like this that went to college that, well, they didn't want to go to college. They went to party. They borrowed money to party for 4 years, drank and have a good time, and they end up with some degree that means nothing. But you, the working man and ladies, grab your lunchbox this morning and you head out to pay for that. Remember that. Who did that to you? This is unfair and should not be done. If you do it, you should pay for it. You knew what you were doing. No one's showing up to pay off my credit card bill this month. They paid yours. For the gas that I use to go to work, they're not going to pay that. And let me tell y'all, I use a lot of that stuff. Almost need the air refueling unit to join me in flight in between crimes. But at the end of the day, no one's coming to save me and pay for mine. Why should you, the American worker, pay for somebody else's decision to go to college? It's not right, and I don't agree with it.
It should be illegal.
Go to a cheaper college. Y'all know that. There's tuitions that jump high and low depending upon where you go. And
some people shouldn't even go to college.
Yeah, that is true. But it's not right for the worker to pay for someone else's decision. Not in my world, it's not. Do you remember the TikTok star we talked about, that Mr. Pata, that I mentioned yesterday, that they found him in a stolen car? And the car that it belonged to had someone who was deceased? He's been charged with second-degree murder. He had 4 million followers. We don't know all the details of how he plotted or what he done or why he did it. But he's in jail and has been charged. And I say that, parents, grandparents that's watching, watch who your kids look up to. That's what they call an influencer, somebody that has that many followers that follow them to see what they do. I don't know how to stop it. I'm just telling you, watch who influences your children, because they do influence. And that's definitely not somebody good that does that, is it? This almost reminds me of Meridian, Mississippi. Do y'all remember the day that we got the word that someone was deceased and police were following them? They pulled over on the edge of the road. I think it was Meehan come into Meridian. And he killed his girlfriend as he was coming into Meridian. What are the odds that there would be a camera to catch the whole thing? Well, this kind of goes back to that, to where a wife getting 40 years in prison. She used an animal tranquilizer to get her husband. The only thing she done was she forgot that the dash cam was rolling on the car and captured the entire thing. She would then drag him to a shallow grave and bury him. She's been busted 40 years. And that's probably a light sentence. This morning, as we look at the outages, now I want y'all to think about this. There's a lot of friends, family that you have that are in the Carolinas, that are in Florida. This morning, as of right now, South Carolina still has 287,000 people without power. North Carolina, 244,000. Georgia, 202,000. Virginia, 13,000. And Florida still at 10,000 people without power. I'm rounding Florida. It's right below that 10,000 mark. That's a lot of people as our linemen head that way from Mississippi, Alabama, all across the South to help out with this. All portions of the U.S. of A. Think about these folks. They're having a very, very tough time. The death toll at this point, and I expect this to be much, much higher. 215 people are dead this morning is what the toll is. That's going to climb. As I look here, we see that hospitals are starting to try to conserve IV fluid, because in that ravaged area was a manufacturing plant that made this. I did not realize that, but they're watching how much of that stuff they give away. A manufacturing plant. I know what you're thinking. Made in America. How could it be? This I don't understand, but we see in North Carolina the flooding has prompted the need for a lot of Benadryl because yellow jackets are swarming the area. My, oh, my, oh, my. Another note on all of this, we see that North Carolina hospitals still have, and when I told you the death toll just a minute ago at 215, there's a lot of hospitals that go wherever our workers. They can't reach them. They're either in an isolated area, or it could be worse that their employees never will return. It's unknown at this point as they frantically look for employees and try to save them. That's a few of the headlines this morning. We've got a lot more to talk about. We're going to do weather next. Then we'll get into the morning show beginning at 7. Y'all don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back.
Come see us at Kia Meridian, where we have the best deals in town. We have 0% for 48 months on remaining 2024 Kia Sorentos and Kia Sportages. Come see us. We're putting dreams in driveways.
When I was elected to the state Senate 9 years ago, my goal was to bring a new generation of conservative leadership to the Capitol to get things done. I'm Mississippi Supreme Court to do the same thing. I've written legislation to lower taxes and reduce regulations on farmers, manufacturers, and other businesses in Mississippi. On the Supreme Court, I'll use my experience and conservative values to always interpret the law, not to rewrite it or bend the rules for anyone.
Al's Garden and Gift, a charming place to harvest memories and gifts this fall. Gather a bountiful selection of pumpkins in a variety of colors and sizes. Capture curb appeal. Enhance an entrance or outdoor living space with beautiful mums, snapdragons, hay bales, corn stalks, or a handmade wreath. Make game days and tailgating even more fun with Captain Rodney's. Savory spices, grilling sauces, gourmet jellies, and Mississippi cheese straws too. Come fall in love with all things autumn at Al's Garden and Gift.
Your forecast is brought to you by EMEPA, your Touchstone Energy Cooperative.
As we look at our record highs and lows, we got again to 2019. This day just stuck. It broke records every day. 101 was the high, set a record back in 19. Back in 87, do y'all remember that? 37 this morning when you woke up. That was our record low for the day. Now, as we go to 85 to 82, depending on, they just adjusted this just a moment ago. At 3:30, they set the record high for today at 85. They've changed it since then to 82 being the high for today, depending upon where you are. A little warmer as you get toward Columbus and back down to Natchez. Should be somewhere around 85 to 88 is what we're looking. As we go east into Bama, they've got theirs a little bit closer. 82 in Demopolis, 82 in Birmingham, and into the 70s as you get toward Auburn and Montgomery and those areas all the way south in Alabama. Now, here's what we look at. Normal temperatures across the state of Mississippi, most of Alabama, and cooler into eastern Bama, into Georgia, Tennessee, and through the Carolinas. All of this rain. Now, as we look at this, we come up and pull up our 7-day forecast. Again, 82 today for the high. That 30% chance of showers will fall mostly this afternoon. Sometime between 3 and 5 is our best money bet on some showers. Again, that's decreased from 40% to 30% in the last 24 hours. 0% chance after this for the next 7 days. Look at that. 87 over the weekend, both days, even into Monday. And cooler as we hit Tuesday with a high of 80, Wednesday 80. Then we get to the 70s there on Thursday, about 78. Now, as we look all the way through the 18th, oh yeah, there's no chances of rain there either, is it? Not one bit there as we wait for all these fields to come up. 80 to 83. We'll get into the 70s again back on the 16th of the month. Nothing drastic there as we look at this. If you headed out fishing this morning, a major time to be there was earlier this morning. It's all over. You'll have another shot this afternoon around 2 o'clock. We'll call it 2 to 4 p.m. to go fishing. It should be good there. Brought to you by our friends there at J&J. A light east-northeast wind becoming east 5 to 10 this morning. Wow. Now we'll get into your hunting forecast here in just a moment. Now, here's what we've got showing up on the hurricane side. Let me pull this up where you can see this. This is what we're showing this morning. This is a 40% chance of this developing in the Gulf. It's been up to 50. It's dropped to 30. It's at a 40% chance. There's no 100% chance that we'll know exactly what it's going to do, but we do know that at worst case scenario, this will be a big rain event that moves into Florida. That's what we're expecting. It's Mother Nature. It can change courses, but that worst-case scenario is a tropical storm and maybe just rain. We'll watch this as the week progresses. Over the weekend, we're going to know more about this. As we look at Kirk, that's a bad boy. Cat 4 this morning, running along at 144 miles an hour, gust of 173. As we look over at Leslie, she's mad this morning, moving along at 58 as a tropical storm. She's got gusted. 69 miles an hour is what she's doing there. Ain't that something as we look at all of that? Let's go back over and let me see here if I can dig up our hunting forecast, because we need to know what the woods are going to be doing today, as always, when you head out. Here we go as we go to Wimberley Taxidermy, bringing us that. Looks like today your major times will be this afternoon, 1:02 p.m. to 3. Good afternoon to go bow hunting. Now, as you put the day rating on this, this is a better day than normal. We get 2 pluses on this. Sunrise is at 6:50. That's coming up on that now. Sunset's going to hit about 6:34 this afternoon. Call Luke. You get that prize, he'll be glad to take care of it for you there. Get you a good look at that. Deer camp, everybody's getting ready for it. Oh, that's what's happening there. We'll be back live in roughly 2 to 3 minutes here as the gang gets ready. We got coffee coming. Julia's in, Greg is in, and Odie's lost over there. We'll be right back with the morning show here at the Scotty Ray Report. Join us, won't you? You'll enjoy the show.